welcome to the initial episode of the Chromatic Podcast, where I bring you a fresh coat of innovation, ideas, and insights from top experts in business, arts, and culture. I'm your host, Craig Bundren of Bundren Painting and the founder of the Bundren Building Arts Foundation. Today's colorful guest host is Scott Martin, entrepreneur, adventurepreneur, podcaster, and the founder of Groundswell Marketing. Scott has been pivotal in helping us to reformulate what we're doing in the industry and finding better ways to get our message out in front of people. This episode will be a little different as Scott has agreed to serve as our inaugural host, anchor, moderator, MC, etc. So let's cut right in and get rolling. Scott?
Wow, thank you so much for that really kind introduction. Craig, the honor's all mine. I really can't say enough about the opportunity, and I'm so honored to be the one that's introducing your podcast and your vision. And, you know, this is just an incredible moment because it's after 6 months of hard work, working with you day in, day out on strategy and thinking on ways that you want to disrupt your industry in a positive way, connecting with the community, deepening the culture of your company, and just taking a hard look at 35 years of your company being in business and reformulating it. What a great word. I mean, that's exactly what you've done, and us working together. This is really going to be an exciting podcast. And I think a lot of people, when they hear the backstory of, you know, the passion for art, the interest in community, the you know, deeper thoughts around how a business can market itself in a way without actually marketing itself, I think is going to be really exciting. So maybe the first place, before we kind of do a deep dive into your background, is, you know, talk a little bit about, you know, the origins of this podcast and some of the strategies that got us here, because I think that will lead us to some pretty exciting conversations. So tell us about that.
I think the podcast is because it's something different. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but I don't know that the commercial painting business has ever been something where somebody is really interested in hearing what's going on with it. You've heard the term, you know, that's exciting as watching paint dry or things like that. And what I really want to do is make it where you can't make paint drying exciting, but, you know, bringing the things into light of what we offer, what we can offer the community, the things that any individual can do, whether you're a paint contractor or any kind of entrepreneur. So my goal with this is to bring to light fascinating people doing fascinating things, people that are out there making a difference in the communities, people that are bringing new ideas to light. There's so many exciting things out there that people have no idea of. It's just another opportunity to really shine a light on that area.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, what are those different areas? So is it just painting, building art? Like, tell us a little bit about the different dimensions that this podcast might take.
It's going to really come down to the people that are making differences in communities, in business. I really think with the businesses that I'm involved in, they are something that's exciting to me that I get to be a part of, but they are also a way to bring to light the things that I'm really passionate about. You really wouldn't be able to afford to do these things under the guise of one business, but having the different ways to touch the community, it really brings an opportunity to fund different things. And when I say fund things, I'm like murals in communities. Let's say that there's a community that's in transition. Art is a fantastic way to show everyone in that community that people care, that people are trying to make a difference, that bad things aren't welcome here. This is what our community is about. We're about doing this and put it into an artistic form. I'm about entrepreneurs sharing new ideas, people that are going out there and coming up with ways to help the community or better educate people in business. How can we take someone that, and I'll use art as an example again, how can we take someone that is an artist and show them the ways that they can step higher on the ladder of bringing their art to everyone? How can they commercialize it a little bit? How can they bring business into their art? How can they take that next step going from a canvas to a building being their canvas. It's going to be centered around things like that, bettering the community, bettering the city, and bettering ourselves.
Well, that's awesome. So I'm really thinking about like the experience I had working with you. You and I did a deep dive over the last, it's been like 4 months of strategy sessions. And, I've really gotten to know your business. And what's impressed me with what your vision of what you're trying to do, it stems from your passion and your commitment to both your brand, your business, the community, and really up-leveling within your own culture, a completely different way, even being disruptive in the paint industry. So one of the things I wanted to just maybe ask a little bit more about to share with us is like this passion for art. Where does that come from? And it's so awesome because you're a painting company and you're working with painting. The connection is just so congruent. Maybe share a little bit of where that comes from.
I think there were so many years of my life that I've never considered myself an artist or artistic or really even that creative. And going through different things in life have pushed me in that direction. I would say one year they have a big festival here, the Houston Arts Festival. We walked into the Houston Arts Festival. I had my wife with me and some friends. And as we walked in, there was a booth that was set in a predominant location. Obviously, they had paid extra to have it sitting there. But on the top of the booth, they had some of their art displayed. And it spoke to me in a way that nothing ever had. I was drawn directly to that booth. I didn't own any art. The only art that I had was pictures in my house that you buy at Z Gallery or some other little home decoration place. I walk up to this artist and start talking to him. And I find this picture I really like. And I ask him, well, how much is this picture? And he says, well, this one's $7,000. And in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to do that. And long story short, I walk out of there with that painting and I put it over the mantle in my house. And it's a very, very interesting painting. And a lot of people come in and it's one of the first things that they notice in my house. But it drove this creativity in me. Then as I worked with you on this, answering all the questions and you really doing the deep dive into what my company is about, into what I'm about, it really pulled that out of me. And to be honest with you, I've never paid enough attention to know that it was there. But once it came out on paper, once it came to light, it was an explosion. It felt so right, so real. And then all of a sudden, all these areas that I could go start making a difference in, that I could go bring light to, that added to the paint business, that added to the entrepreneurial spirit that I have. It was very exciting. I don't know if you can tell the excitement in my voice when I talk about it, but it was
I remember the process.
Very exciting moment. And it's opened up a whole new world. And this is just kind of one of the first splashes in a small pool that I'm ready to make.
So it's like we talked a little bit about working with the mural artists and identifying buildings, working with building owners, and really just looking at different innovative ways that building art and painting can actually increase the building value, increase the visibility and beautification of the environments here in Houston, and also up level sort of, I guess you get the visibility of the artists. You had some pretty cool vision there. So tell me a little bit about that.
Looking at building murals was a big thing. Over the years, we had been asked to do murals in, let's say, high schools, in their gymnasiums or in hospital hallways. And we had just looked at it as, okay, we're going to go and we're going to paint a tiger here. We're going to put some fun stuff for kids here. But really looking at the city of Houston and looking at the urban murals that they're putting on wall that have meaning, that are true artistic forms, the fact that we might be able to come in and be involved in that, and once again, add more of a business side to it. And when I say business side, I don't want to corrupt anything. I want to make things more accessible to people. These people that have that vision, that are putting it on the side of a building on a Friday night, hiding out doing it. I want to bring it to light where they have an audience, where it's something professional that they can get their name out there. It's adding to the beauty of the city. It's adding to the experience of the people that walk by it. So for us to be able to, I don't want to say broker, like bring money in financially for us. I mean, broker it for exposure. If we could have people come to us or open the door for them, show them a way to get that out there, that's what that is for me.
Amazing. And, you know, it's like funny, but you and I found some research, and that's something you're going to bring to light, it sounds like, is there is actually research that supports that by adding some level of building art, and, you know, it's obviously adding a fresh coat of paint adds a lot of value to building, but once you add like something like a dimension, like some building art into a builder or a community, it adds traffic, visibility. It's like, it adds a lot of value. It's really cool. And all the art is so interesting. I couldn't believe how vibrant, when I was working with you on the research, how vibrant the Houston community is. It's unbelievable. I just never would have guessed it out of the blue.
I think that there's so many people that see it every day that don't pay attention to it. It's just one of those things that they're walking around, but it needs to stand out. It needs to be accentuated more, where people realize what's going on in communities. The research on it adding value to buildings was it's almost like one of those things that you know in the back of your head, but nobody has brought it to light. But if you have a building with this mural, be it huge, small, there's some of them that people are even putting mini murals on.
What's a mini mural?
A mini mural, it's almost like a small work of art. Instead of taking the whole side of a building, it's almost like they're finding something small and doing just these mini murals on them.
Is that the one like we were talking about the dogs?
Yeah, almost like where they have the wings.
Let's describe that, because it's actually really cool. Go ahead.
So they have some buildings where the wings thing has been popular, where they draw the wings and everyone gets on social media and they have these big wings behind them and they take their pictures. There's been statues of them throughout different cities, but I guess someone started doing it on a very small scale. So you could put your dog in front of that picture and it would give your dog wings. And so everyone's snapping pictures of that. And it's very, very creative. But yes, that in essence is like a mini mural. There's a lot of other little things where people are transforming objects that are necessary for street lights or things like that hide the electronics in things, and they make mini murals. Banksy, the artist in the UK, you know, you think about, he's done all these little mini murals all over the place, and it has become extremely popular and also a voice in society through that.
It actually can become a tourist attraction.
Absolutely.
People travel all over the world to check out building murals. I saw there's a Instagram account dedicated to Houston to touring around building murals. I was like, I couldn't even believe it.
They really did that when the quarantine process was in place. They put on directions to, and so people couldn't go to art galleries to do things like that, but they could get in their car and drive to different points around the city and almost have like their own gallery viewing on buildings. So that was a pretty neat aspect of something to do during a time that you couldn't do much.
That's innovative. I didn't even think of that. So what are we going to see? Like, so this was really, so this whole direction of now looking at building art, you work directly with building owners on helping improve their environments. This could just be another adjunct or supporting role, but this led way for something really exciting that I think would be great to sort of talk a little bit more about, which is how you've kind of are now looking at formalizing the role you want to play in the art community with a nonprofit. Do you want to share with us a little bit about that?
Sure. The Bundren Building Arts Foundation is a nonprofit that we've started, a way to fund artists. So we'll take money, donations. We'll also have ways to commission art projects. So if we can take this foundation and use the funds from that to find walls to paint in Houston, to find ways to fund artists, to even train artists, to find grants to get them classes that they need or business experience that they need, or bring companies together like mine. We have a lot of paint left over from projects that we do throughout the city of Houston. And we can take that paint and donate it to artists to use on murals or other art projects. So, they use the term starving artist. There's so many artists out there that are creative that are looking for the funds or the materials. And we want to be a part of that. And I thought the best way to do it would be to take this foundation. We have all this experience from the commercial painting company of working with the city and different people in the city. I have a huge network of people that I've been working with over the last years. So if I can take my network and bring it into people and take an artist who didn't know how to get in touch with a property management company or a national brand apartment complex, or once again, property management or a general contractor or city leader, if I could be of service to help connect some people like that, then I think that that's a great way that the Bundren Building Arts Foundation could be seen in the public eye.
That's awesome. So, that's just the starting point. We've talked about a ton of other innovative ideas. And I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, this is what you and I were talking about with this podcast, is really to connect to the community, the artists, building owners, and start having a conversation, start even innovating further. I think that with the vision that you're aiming toward is to really create another massive lever to really differentiate and innovate the Houston art and building art and frankly the commercial building industry, if you will, right? And so, what would you say for some of this listening that has some ideas? Like, how would they, is that something that they go on the show or connect you directly, or do you want to share some of those ideas that we're thinking about, or is that something you want to reveal once we've done more research?
I would say a mix. Anyone can get a hold of me through my Instagram accounts. The Bundren Building Arts Foundation is one of them. If you want to come in that aspect, and then Bundren Painting is the paint company that we have. But there's multiple ways that we want to reach out and help the community.
That's awesome. So we're going to be able to do a little wrap up at the end and share the different ways that you can reach Bundren. But let's take a step back in time now. So we've described this like great initiative and what's the purpose of the podcast and this new foundation. Let's go back in time. So this business was started 35 years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about its beginnings?
Absolutely. I'm in third generation in the commercial painting business. My grandfather started painting when he was younger, and my dad went into business with him. My dad lived in Dallas. My grandfather lived in Houston, and my dad moved down to Houston to start a business with his father. They started that business, and it was a very successful business for many years. And my dad was basically running that business. My grandfather got into some areas that my dad didn't want to be involved in. So my dad went in 1985, in the middle of a recession, decided to start this business out of the game room study of our house. And so I'm a little kid. I'm coming home from school, and my dad's up in our study with another guy that was doing estimating for him. And then we started painting Home Depots in Houston. And that's kind of how Dad started this thing. I worked for him growing up in summers. And then after I graduated and decided that I didn't want to be in the family business, and went and did some other things. And it just wasn't as satisfying to me. So I came back to the family business, and then he started me in the field painting. I was a delivery driver at one time. I was a superintendent. I was an estimator. So I've been through all the positions there. And then in 2011, I took it over, and I had been running it for a few years, or mostly running it. And then my dad retired, and I moved forward with it. but I still wasn't where I wanted to be with it. I really had to do a lot of soul searching and find out, how do I make this company my own? What is my outlook for this? My dad had put his stamp on it and run it the way he wanted to. And then when I took it over, I ran it the way that he did it, the way he wanted. And there was a lot of different things that I wanted to experience, to put out there. Obviously, we're just different people, and I had to make it my own. And one of those ways was going out there and getting my entrepreneurial education, working with people that I've met through Tony Robbins' organization. Learned an amazing amount from the Tony Robbins, from the way that people operate to the way that business operates. And from there, met a gentleman that teaches out of Austin named Keith Cunningham. And he really gave me a lot of business information. We started changing the way that we do things in the office. We started changing our team members. And we've come out now with a company that is amazing. I mean, every day that I wake up and think about what we're doing and who we have working for us, I'm excited.
That's incredible. And you did cover it, but you kind of glossed over it. I think a lot of people need to understand the commitment of time, the depth of training that you've gone through. I know because that's how you and I met. I think we met at Business Mastery, maybe. Correct. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was Business Mastery, but we started meeting and connecting, and you committed just as I did to this Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership, where you spent the entire year traveling the world and having personal interactions with private events with Tony Robbins, being in a network of other unbelievably successful entrepreneurs, and then all the different training, coaching. Maybe just dive into that a little bit, because I think that journey that you've gone through literally paints a picture of what we've kind of now I would maybe call, Bundren 2.0 or something. So do you want to share with us a little bit of that journey
as you were
in more depth?
As you were talking, I don't know if you can hear me giggling a little bit in the background. And the reason is the Tony Robbins experience that I went through. I don't mean to gloss over that, but I do it a lot, because when I explain to people what I did and what I went through, it's almost mind blowing. I've told other groups that I'm in, I've discussed this, and people ask me questions like they can't believe that I did this. So I went to a business mastery, and the reason I went to this business mastery was because I knew that I was missing something in my business. I wasn't understanding something fully that I needed to in reference to business. And when I went there, my mind was blown. There was all this information, things that I had never thought of that I needed to be paying attention to. And they offered a platinum partnership. And that is for people that are really dedicated to finding new answers, new ways of doing things. These people were super successful, and I never saw myself being able to do something like that. So another event, I went to a second business mastery. They had a second part of it. I went to that, and I brought one of my employees with me. And then they offered this UPW, Unleash the Power Within. And I brought my wife with me. And I'm showing her what's going on and what this is all about. And once again, it's a different presentation, and mine was pretty much blown. And they offered up this platinum partnership. And I told my wife, I said, this is awesome. This would be life-changing if I did this. And she goes, well, do it. And I don't know that I was ready for that. I don't know I was ready for permission to go do it. So I signed up, and it's about proximity. It's about proximity to successful people, proximity to people that are on the same path as I was for learning. So we would go and just get enveloped in these courses, and they were almost once a month. And I was flying all over the United States and some places out of the country. And about once a month, we would go to another program. I got my wife to sign up as a platinum partner. And so she's changing her life. I'm changing my life. I met you. There's a handful of other people that I met in there that I'm still in contact with, that I'm bounced stuff off of, that we talk about, answers, new ways to do things. It's been an absolutely life-changing, amazing I wouldn't be anywhere close to what I'm doing with you, with the business, with a podcast, with a foundation. There's so much in my life that has changed. Life will never be the same.
No kidding. And you've got like a group of people to get counsel from different perspectives that's leading to this really interesting direction in your strategy and the connection to purpose in your business. And, the one thing I can say, having worked with you, is I'm, absolutely blown away by your tenacity to learn, your hunger for just self-improvement, and your natural curiosity. I mean, every time I talk to you, I mentioned a book and you've read it, or, just the amount of stuff that you share with me that you dive into, I'm blown away. But maybe share with the listeners, sort of like, what's that journey been in terms of also your self journey of self-learning and so forth?
I am an absolute seeker. I love to learn. I wanted to flip houses. And so I went and got a real estate license. That's not the way I recommend going to flip houses, but I wanted to learn. So I went and got my real estate license. I wanted to go fly some airplanes. So I showed up at a school on a airport, and then enrolled and got my pilot's license. I love psychology. So I started reading psychology books. Anything I want, there's so many things in life out there, new things. And all you have to do is open a book or listen to a podcast or get on YouTube. Research is so easy. And I just love learning. When I jumped into the Tony Robbins thing, there was so much to learn. And then there was another Dean Graziosi, he's got different items that he's offering. So many of these things that you can go out there and learn. And it's just this thirst that's within me. I want to learn everything I can about art. I want to learn everything I can about communities, about the way that I operate, why I operate that way, how to better the way I operate, how to better my surroundings, how to better my business. It's all out there. And I've learned that all you have to do is follow a plan. And most of these plans have already been laid out. You can emulate plans and become successful in almost any area of life. And then you can also go out there and make your own plan. It's up to you. But there's so many different ways to go about it. And I want to know those ways. I love reading books. The biggest thing, though, is sharing. For me, it's sharing. I've found a way to do things that is beneficial, that is helpful. And if you come to me and start telling me about a problem that you're having, I want to help you solve that problem. I want to show you a book. I want you to get the same knowledge that I got. I want you to get out of any pain that you're in because you can't solve this, or your business isn't doing as well, or you're someone that is having trouble expressing yourself in, let's say, art or something like that. Anywhere where you're hitting a roadblock, I want to be able to help you. I don't like seeing people suffer. I don't like seeing people in pain. And if I've got anything in my library or in my thoughts or anything that I've learned that I can share with you, and you spend a year traveling the world with very successful entrepreneurs and teachers, you learn a lot. And it's, to me, there's many times that I say things that surprise myself, that I'm like, wow, I didn't know I knew that. They just kind of sneak up. And I'm not putting that on me. It's just repeating the things that other people have told me and learning those things.
It's immersion, right? You've immersed yourself and in all this training and reading and so forth. What's your top 3 shared books?
Oh, that's hard for me because, there's books in personal development. There's books in business. So it's really hard to put one out there that I prefer. As you say that, I look up. I've got books that are on my desk above me. I've got a bookcase to my right. And to try to pick my top 3, it's almost panicking because it just depends on the situation. There's so many that are so good and fit right in. So that's too hard for me to try to do right now.
So on the podcast, are you going to share like maybe, do like a little bit of a summary of a book or anything like that? Or do you see some knowledge sharing and solo episodes, or is it just going to be interviews?
Absolutely. I would love to share some books and information. And I'm sure that I'll get a lot of feedback from the people that listen to the podcast and can also bring that in. I will say I did look up, there's a book, two books actually. One called Thrive by Arianna Huffington. And that book is a conglomerate of different things to do to change your life. And it's everything from meditating to sleeping to all the different things.
She's well known for her sleep process or discipline, if you will. I think it's legendary.
Absolutely,
I've heard anyway.
Because she didn't sleep. She didn't sleep, and until she one day passed out and hit her head on a table, realized that she needed to change some things in her life. And I think that that's so common with so many of us. We do things in life, they become out of whack or painful. Something bad happens, and then we've got to go in and reformulate the way that we're living. We have to change things. And then we find answers and want to share those answers with other people.
And that's outstanding, because that's also part of your curiosity for learning is about innovation, which is kind of the main topic of as my understanding is of your podcast. And you and I shared some conversation about Peter Diamandis and the idea of like looking at future tech and innovation and things that could be applied to your industry and overall in business. And do you want to share a little bit about that forward-looking sort of vision that you have about really doing a dive into what's coming next?
So Peter is he is amazing. And I was brought to know him through one of the Robbins events. And you were at that event as well. It was a financial forum. And we were in Canada for that, at Whistler,
I think. Yeah.
And it was amazing. And they had all these different people come on stage talking about finances and where the world was going and the best ways to plan. And then Peter comes on, and it's not really about finances. It's about the future. It's about the things that are happening. And it was mind blowing, to say the least. He was talking about things, like drones delivering, not just pizzas, but drones from Amazon that were going to drive down sidewalks, and autonomous cars and all these things that you maybe hear about a little bit on the news. He was deep diving in and talking about where companies are with that. He's talking about things like self-healing concrete, self-healing paint. That very much got my attention. What if you painted a building and whenever it got scratched, that paint healed itself? I mean, that's next level. That's amazing. That's something I want to be involved in. That's not something I'm scared of. That's something I want to be a part of.
Self-healing. Okay, tell me more. I got to hear more of this.
It's a lot like self-healing concrete. And I would have to have the literature in front of me to tell you what they put in it. But they put certain chemicals in there that will build. Once they're injured, you can go and add the chemical that kind of starts the process, and it just heals itself. So if you had, going back to the concrete part, if you had city infrastructure where there's a bridge going over the major thoroughfare that runs through your city, and it's got a crack in it, and it's self-healing, then they're never going to have to shut down that bridge for all the traffic to stop on that bridge and reroute everybody. You're never going to know about it. That bridge is just going to be healed. And so I think about the same thing in painting. What if you've got a multi-story mid-rise or high-rise, and it's got damaged paint on the outside, and it starts letting water infiltrate the building or something like of that nature? Instead of having to stage out that building or put lifts up the side or baskets, it's going to go heal itself. You're talking about a lot of savings in the end. So where things are going with business, with health, with paint, I mean, of all things, who would think that paint could be exciting like that? like we said before, watching paint dry. Well, it'd be kind of exciting to watch paint self-heal.
Amazing. And, you're also talking about like the innovation in culture and people. And that's something that let's just talk about that because it's about your business. Like you're looking at like future tech, but you're also looking at redefining what a paint company can look like. Do you want to share with us a little bit what that sounds like or feels like?
There's so many paint companies that if you go look at websites of different paint companies, so many people have the same idea. Hey, it's a paint company. We go out there, we change colors on things. We add to, we do this, we do that. I want to do it a little bit differently. I want to make it where this is exciting. I want the people that work in the office to be excited about it, that are going to go help clients to find what they're truly looking for, to make a difference. Paint can make such a difference in hospitals, in long-term care facilities. The colors that they use matter. There's hot colors, there's cool colors, there's warm colors. There's things that make you feel certain ways. So I want everyone to be cognizant of that. And I want employees that can help people find those things. You don't want to go into somewhere where somebody needs to be calm and paint it bright red. You want to really make sure that you're putting the right things in the right places to help people. And I want those employees on board that are there for service, that are there to help make a difference, to help people find the things that they need, that they're looking for. Because so many times, and I'll use you as an example, I'm looking for something. And when I first started working with you, I didn't know what it was. But you, through your skill level, sat down and interviewed me enough to know exactly what I was looking for and to be able to basically repeat it to me. And it was almost like a magic trick to me because I was like, wow, how did you know that? Well, you pulled it all out of me. So
it was within you. I mean, all this stuff that you're talking about was there. You just needed someone to kind of like organize it, facilitate, and kind of like create meaning for the strategy. And once you got the framework of the strategy, you're now just running away with it with all these amazing ideas. Every time I show up, you got like something new you're thinking about. And I've never seen, I mean, it's not true. Not I've never seen, but I love seeing how excited you are legitimately about helping your clients, improving your culture, being an innovator, a leader, and doing all these outstanding activities like this podcast. Like, I mean, anybody can start a podcast, but I think your take on this is going to be really interesting because I've gotten to know you and how, you just, anyone that's listening up to this point can see all the different areas that you've learned from, and you've taken all this experience and piecing all together. This is a one of a kind, in my opinion. And I think this is going to do really well. And what would you say you're most excited about next?
The fact that there is a next, it's just to pick one thing. There's so many things on the horizon. I'm excited about all of them. I'm excited about empowering my employees to get as excited as I am. The Building Arts Foundation really excites me because it's going to be the opportunity to meet new people, to meet creative people that are out doing things, that are making a difference. So many of these artists are out really trying to make a name for themselves or trying to make a name for a cause, but they're putting things out there and they're so creative. And I want to be a part of that creativity. That probably is the biggest excitement for me, to be able to help change the face of Houston, to help change the face of a community, to just be a part of it.
Yeah, I think people are going to see a very unconventional approach to commercial painting when they start seeing the content and that creativity coming through in these different platforms, which leads me to the one that's, to be released in the future, which is our magazine. And we still defining what that looks like and so forth. But do you want to share a little bit of your vision of what you think that might be?
So Chromo magazine will be coming out, and that will feature places, Houston and other places. It's going to be anywhere where we can find art, beauty, true entrepreneurs, people out doing things, people making a difference. It'll be anything from articles on self-improvement to business improvement, just anything that has to do with innovation, moving forward. And I always lean back towards business because that's where I live right now. And that's where I'm learning the most. But how business can help individuals, how business can help cities, change the face of things. I think it's going to be a beautiful visual thing that people can look at and read some articles in and hopefully be inspired to make some changes.
So the center point is business with a flair for the art, the building, obviously the connection with the painting industry. What about like with the commercial painting industry itself? Is that going to be if I'm not in the commercial painting industry, will this feel like it's geared towards that, or is this more a broader audience?
This is for a more broad audience.
Yeah.
There's a lot with painting in there, but I'm not going to go at it like a trade organization would, or just stuck on commercial painting and the benefits of that, or things like that. It's going to be more about community, and I keep using the word beauty, but there's so many colorful things to look at, and I want to share those things.
And one of the things that I also know about you is that, as you're moving, this initiative forward and all these different things around, Bundren, is, your future sort of state of thinking, as I understand, is also maybe do some coaching and whether it's to your employees or to other business owners. It's not something that's present at the moment, but tell us a little bit about that, because I feel like this is a really interesting segue towards really creating some visibility, because your desire to help, entrepreneurs. Because as a service business owner, you've gone from the ground floor up. You've built this business. Now you're transforming this business. You've taken all this training. It seems to me that you just now can't. You want to start sharing and impacting. Maybe share a little bit about that. What is that? What is that driving? What's there?
Going back to coaching others is something that I feel very, very strongly about. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, if you want to get everything you want out of life, then do everything that you can for other people. That's kind of a sum up of it. But there's so many other books and things that I've read or classes that I've learned that if you really want to make a difference, you've got to help other people, help them to get their dreams. And so I want to make a difference. So helping other people in business or any other self-help that I can, from all these courses, books, everything that I've taken, I would love to be able to employ that. I feel like I've just said the word help so many times throughout this, but it's just something that I feel very, very strongly about. So if anyone needs coaching in the painting business, obviously I've got a wealth of knowledge about that, and I'm here to help do that. If someone needs help in just general business, obviously I've got a lot of information about that. I can help do that. Help share with my network, anything that I can do.
That's outstanding. And I'm sure that a lot of people listening are really feeling that. And I think that what's really important maybe to sort of share as we get close to wrapping this up is, this is the inaugural, kickoff episode, just to give a little background to you, because you're going to be interviewing and doing some solo casts. Is there, anything that you feel that you want to sort of share for listeners to kind of give them a little bit more of a sense of what to expect, and anything that maybe I didn't uncover that you'd like to make sure that we share?
We uncovered quite a bit. I would say expect what's next. Expect the unexpected. There's so much out there. You were asking me about books. When I look around at all the books, there's millions of stories, millions of chapters of information. There's so much stuff that I want to share from people that have successfully set up small businesses, from people that have gone and turned around businesses. I love business turnaround. That's another big thing.
So why do you like business turnarounds?
Because somebody's struggling. Somebody's having a hard time. Somebody's not able to sleep at night. Somebody's scared. And then you can go in there and say, we found the problems within this business. And if we do this, this, and this, we have a very good chance of turning this around and being able to change somebody's life where they're living under stress and fear to where they're empowered to make these changes in their business that are going to take them where they need to go. You hear so many people say that you can't see out of the hole that you dug yourself into. Well, so many other people can come around and go, oh, hey, you're in a hole. Here, let me help you out. So there's things that I want to cover in turnarounds. I love turnarounds. Turnarounds make me very, very happy because I've been in a business where we've had some really hard times. We've made mistakes, and it's a horrible feeling to go through that. But to be on the other side of that and look back and say, wow, look at the lessons we've learned. Look where we are now. That's something that is really amazing. It's something that you can't fake. It's an education that you have to get the hard way. You can't watch somebody else do it and learn from it the way you can as if you're the person that's in the hole.
And, it's like that the way that you're describing that is also, maybe there's some DNA in there. When we started doing the strategy, was we're in the middle of dealing with the whole COVID and all the different changes that are affecting everybody. And there's going to be, I think, a lot of need for people that are really looking at navigating and maybe, different strategies and I might even dare to say mindset that you've really focused on and for your success. And, going forward, when you know that there's this huge challenge for the country around and your country and around the world, really, and this podcast being really born right in the time of need, because I think that's what comes through for me, is that your desire to help and make a difference with entrepreneurs, with business owners, and people looking for a really interesting take on business and thinking. Going forward with this sort of like state, like I think this is going to be a breath of fresh air. What's your take on how the timing of this podcast, and it's literally now, like, tell us a little bit about that, because I feel like you come by it honestly. This is what this was born in a time when you were really, I remember you said to me, I really want to help people. That's what you said. So tell us about that.
I think the really interesting thing about this is you and I sat down and we started planning this out, going through the different things that I wanted to do. And you were asking me a lot of questions, and it was really exciting. It was moving forward, and it was setting this business, my life, all these things in order for the future. And then all of a sudden we go into this pandemic. And this pandemic, everything that we were doing almost set us up for better ways to handle this pandemic. And as bad as this pandemic has been, it's felt a little bit better because I've had hope and I've had a plan. And then the people that are going through this and hurting, there's an opportunity here. So many people are looking at the bad things that are going on. Things are going to change. Things are always going to change. You can't stop that. But we have to be able to pivot. We have to set ourselves up where we can see the change and we can be the change. There is a way to step into this. If you're the person with the mindset of, look what's happened to me, look what's happened to my country, look what's happened to my business, what am I going to do? This is all out of my control. Then you're not going to be the person that survives this. If you're the person that comes in and says, look what's going on, what's happening, how can I be part of this? What can I do to change? How do I pivot? There's so many people that went out there that their companies were just getting hammered. And then they turned around and started making protective equipment. They found a way to there was restaurants that were closed down that saw the need for toilet paper and hand sanitizer and became a restaurant/general store. It's the creative thinking. It's that this isn't the end. This is the beginning. This is a new way to do things. I spoke with a lot of people in the artist community here in Houston, and people were really scared. And they were saying things that made sense. So art was the first thing that people stopped doing. People stopped paying attention to art. People stopped going to concerts. People weren't going to ballets. They're not listening to musicals. Concerts canceled. And the artists were saying, we're the first ones to go and we're the last ones we're going to bring back. Well, then somebody puts out this, what we discussed earlier about the traveling mural show, where you drive through the Houston or through the city and see these murals, coming up with ways to do concerts outdoors. There's so many different things. If you look at the problems and say, here's an insurmountable problem, then that's what you've got. But if you look at this and go, what is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn here? Then you can come out with a whole new thing. And that's what I'm about in everything. What is this trying to teach me? What can I do different? What can I teach people? What can I learn? And then life can be completely different. It's a brand new way of looking at things.
And that is why I recommend you do a podcast, because, so it's not like, just like you said at the very beginning, there's so many different podcasts out there. And I had to give you a nudge. I'm like, you have a lot to say, a lot to offer. And there's a lot of people in need, and you want to connect with that need. So I really applaud you. I think this is going to be an incredible podcast. You're an incredible human, and you're embarking on such an incredible new journey. I think this podcast is going to do extremely well. Anyone that's listening, I can just tell you firsthand, having spent probably, would you fair to say, Craig, that you probably don't have many other suppliers that have spent more time with you than me?
No, I think you know more about me and my business than my employees and maybe my wife.
It's incredible. Well, we have spent a lot of time, and it's been an incredible journey. And it's like, I just am so excited about this podcast, your journey. And I think even bigger than that, the impact that both this community and what you can do for your industry is a bit of a game changer in a time that things are changing so rapidly. So thank you for giving us that sort of wrap up. Is there anything else that you want to just finish with before we tell everybody where we want to send them?
No, I just want to thank you for your help with me along this journey. You have been a fantastic teacher. You've brought a lot of things new into my life, and I am eternally grateful for all your help. You are an amazing human being.
Oh, thank you, man. And you're my friend. It's like we've become such great friends in the process, and I have so much respect for you. So I'm going to do a little wrap up here. So thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm your temporary host, one time only, just to kick this off, unless Craig invites me back, of course. And this is the Chromatic Podcast. It's a show by Craig Bundren. He's connecting you to fresh ideas. And you can follow Craig on craigbundren.com, or you can go to bundren.com for all the different things that we mentioned, from the foundation to the magazine that'll be coming out. And lastly, bundren.fm. That'll be the landing page for this podcast. And you'll find the information there. There'll be some abilities for you to connect with Craig there and the show, and share with us. And please share with everyone the show. And Craig, this is the awesome kickoff. So until next time, goodbye.
Thanks.